Welcome to Giants Nation. I'm your host, Bobby Skinner, here with my co-host, the Football Grump, and we've got a Giants Saints preview. It's the game we all circled on our schedule when the schedule came out and said, hey, we should win that one. And the Giants were trying to create 2 wins in a row, something they didn't do last year, trying to start 2-0 in the Jackson Dart era. The Giants actually lead this series 17-16, so this one means a little bit. And it's the 4th matchup in the last 5 years with the Saints, even though this is only this is still the 3rd quarterback. Grump, let's win this game.
Let's win this game, Bobby. It feels good. Feels like the Giants stole a game kind of last week against LA. Now we're heading into what feels like a winnable week on the road. So I'm excited to talk about it and break it all down.
Yeah, it's Jackson Dart obviously breathed some life into this team, and if they got, like, blown out by the Chargers or whatever, it would have been, like that would have all went away, and then beating the Saints would have been, like it'd been fun for a week, but it's like, we got the Eagles on Thursday Night Football, we don't even get a full week to enjoy it. Now it's like, alright, now we're coming off on a 2 we could get a 2-game winning streak. We could go on a Thursday Night Football with them talking about how, Jackson Dart's breathed life into this team, and they're 2-0 under him, and the Eagles are gonna be tough. This is not an Eagles preview, but I'm excited for it. This is the most I've been excited for a game, like, where I was excited for this game on Tuesday, which has not been a usual feeling in Giants land. So let's get into this preview. First, this episode was brought to you by some special people. We got Shomari Jones. He says, show me the money. Show Jones the Mari. And then another person, his name is I do not pay my taxes, which I'll be honest, I don't think that's your real name, but I have considered doing that, and wondering how that would work out. Grump, who are these special people and the reason I do have to pay my taxes?
These people make you pay your taxes because they went to patreon.com/Giants Nation, where they subscribe for one of 2 tiers so they could receive stickers in the mail from you, Bobby Skinner. They get entered into a monthly free t-shirt raffle. They also get access to watch these episodes as they're being recorded, like this one right now, and hang out with us. And in addition to that, the coolest thing is they get weekly game tape breakdowns that you do, Bobby Skinner.
We should get to a point where I do a cash Patreon where you have to mail me like a year's worth of subscription in cash, and with that cash, I get your email, and I email you the link of the Patreon stuff every single week. Do you think we could do that?
Mailing cash is sketchy.
Tax fraud has to be thrilling. All right, let's get into this preview podcast. Um, so from the Giants offense versus the Saints defense. The Saints defense is bad, right? They're 30th in points per game, 27th in EPA per play, and just like total passing and rushing, they're 15th in passing and 18th in rushing. But they're a bad passing defense. They've got Brandon Staley as their defensive coordinator, who I really don't like. And it's not just because when he first became the head coach of the Chargers, Twitter just blew him for saying the things that Twitter said all the time. Um, but I watched a couple of games of film, and I was a little bit surprised. The 49ers game of film, I was not surprised at all. It was a ton of soft zone, right? The linebackers are dropping back at 11 yards of depth. They're not matching in their zone very well. And then I put on the Bills game, just like, let's see a little bit of a mobile quarterback. I'm sure there's some similar concepts that Josh Allen learned from Brian Dable early on, and there was, right? Like, Josh Allen's interception was something the Giants ran 3 times last week. But the Bills were in so much under center that a Brandon Staley defense played like a lot more man coverage than I was expecting, and we're playing a little more shallow. But so we may be getting a mixed bag or a game specific plan. That's the thing, is we still are early in the season where new defensive coordinators with new teams, you don't have a full identity exactly of what they're going to do. But I do think they'll play more so to their soft type of zones. I mean, that's what Brandon Staley has been his entire time as a defensive play caller.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with you. I think that they're going to be probably more in their soft zone coverages than in man. And I think that perhaps it has more or less to do with respect for the quarterback and dealing with what quarterbacks do. Josh Allen is an incredibly hard quarterback to plan a defense against. Whereas you might not have that same level of respect for somebody like Mac Jones or somebody like Jackson Dart. So I think it may have to do with that, and I think it may have to be with just dealing with how do you play this quarterback? How do you play this offense? And if that means disguising coverages and throwing pressure looks at him and backing out of it, which they like to do a lot of, and just rush four, and just kind of confuse Jackson Dart, and then slip into the easiest thing you can, which is soft zone, rather than the complexities and communication involved in going into man coverage and stuff like that, or just even risking any of that stuff. Um, so I think that they're probably going to be testing Jackson Dart more than anything, and I think they'll probably be backing into soft zones and honestly trying to force Jackson Dart to throw things where you can jump on a route in soft zone rather than in man coverage where your back is possibly to the quarterback, etc.
In which the Chargers played that way too, and that's obviously part of the way the Chargers play. And I think you can start this game off with Jackson Dart feeling them out a little bit. You know, that stick concept that they hit Neighbors with on Dart's first completion, and they hit Slayton a couple more times in the game. Once Neighbors went out, that should be there early on. You could get a couple quick passes to Wan'Dale Robinson. And again, we're moving on a post Malik Neighbors life for the rest of the season. But if I'm I am a Giants fan. If I'm a Giants fan, I kind of want teams to play in these zone coverages against Jackson Dart for a couple of reasons. Is like to do that, you're dropping your linebackers back in coverage, and there's gonna be some type of open guys. And Dart showed, like, hey, if it's there, I'm gonna pull the trigger on it. If there's something to be aggressive, I'm gonna pull the trigger on it. And if it's not, I'm gonna tuck and run. And especially against, Brandon Staley, if he's playing the same way against the 49ers, there's gonna be a lot of room underneath. And obviously they don't respect Mac Jones's legs. Probably the least respected legs for a quarterback in the NFL, not named, hell, even Aaron Rodgers, might have more respect, or Joe Flacco. Um, but that's where Jackson Dart found success. And you could look back at the Chargers game and say, hey, outside the first drive, the Giants offense didn't have a ton of success, but they were able to convert third downs playing against those types of defenses. Where if I was playing Jackson Dart, I'd be like, all right, let's bring pressure up the middle. Right? We don't need to send six, but we want our pressure coming up the middle because that's where he likes to run up through, and that's where he made plays in the passing game and ran the ball. And I'm playing man coverage because I don't respect these receivers a ton, even though the Saints probably have one of the worst cornerback rooms in the NFL with the way they play. But it's because their DB room is bad. I mean, the Saints are giving up 71% completion rate against them with over 11 yards per catch. Usually, if you're giving up that high of a rate, you're lower in the yards per catch, yet they're, topping that. They only have one interception. And if they do sit in their soft zones, like, they don't play it instinctively either. Like in the 49ers game, Mac Jones was just throwing it past these guys' heads. We're like, geez, that's some anticipation or whatever. But it's just they just didn't react to the route combinations the way you would expect, the way that, like, the Chargers do, where you can say, oh, they're similar in, like, their structure, their defense, but the Chargers just play it so much better. Um, and they don't blitz very much. I don't respect their pass rush a ton, especially knowing Andrew Thomas should be locking down one of the sides. Carl Granderson plays with a lot of energy. Um, the interior guys, I think Brian Brzee can make a little bit of noise versus interior, but he's not someone I'm worried about, taking over a game.
No, starting with the back end there, this is an Isaac Yiadom revenge game, by the way.
And he may not even play. Like, I think he went from limited to a DNP.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I don't have a ton of respect for this back end of the defense. I don't think it's very good. Um, but I do think that they generate a decent amount of pressure with only four guys, and I think that they're able to do that by disguising a lot of pressure looks and then backing out of them, or bringing pressure from unorthodox places at times, but not very often. I think Granderson, he runs in there with about 7 pressures and 5 sacks. That's, not nothing. 8 pressures for Cam Jordan, who's been, a stalwart in this league as being a pressure guy. He's got 2 sacks also. I think Brian Brzee is probably gonna be the biggest issue for this offensive line. I feel pretty comfortable about the tackles for the Giants with Andrew Thomas coming back. Um, but the interior is always gonna worry me, and as soon as there's a guy that I think that can bring some heat up the middle, I get a little bit scared. Um, and I think you add in, they like to throw a bunch of mug looks and back out of them, and that can confuse a lot of communication between the offensive linemen and the interior. They've been pretty good in being in the right place, the Giants offensive line. They're just not very good at blocking. I don't think that they're going to be confused too much, but it's going to be a matter of how do you deal with Brian Bressee's strength and quickness on the inside.
Yeah, and I just think it's Brian Brzee hasn't quite been the player that I thought he was gonna be coming out of Clemson, but, like, he's not a for Greg Van Roten and John Runyon, who have struggled with lateral quickness, especially Greg Van Roten, it's not a good matchup there. Um, for the Giants' rushing offense, Grump, weeks 1 and 2, they were 26 in run EPA and success rate. The last 2 weeks, they've been 15th and 12th, so they've made improvements. Here's the thing is last week, they ran the ball a ton. Demario Davis is better than any run defender the Chargers had last week. And the Chargers also sat in split safety with their defensive ends super wide. I do not expect the Saints to do that with Cam Jordan and Kyle Granderson. Pete Werner's a pretty good linebacker too. And then we talk about like the Brian Brzee quickness. Like this team flows with zone well, and the Giants are not at a point. They're not going to be a zone running team. One, the offensive line is not good for it, and it doesn't really fit Cam Scatterbo that much either. Besides the fact that he can break one tackle and go, but it's not like he's not making great cuts off of the blockers or pressing it as much as you would like. If once Tyrone Tracy comes back in the lineup, maybe you can get a little bit more of that. Um, but as much as like their run defense isn't like great, it's also like for the Giants rushing offense has been bad. I'm not feeling super confident, but like we talk about feeling them out a little bit. If they're living in two high safeties, and obviously this means outside the first drive because we're coming out and hurry up offense first drive. Outside of that, I'm doing what you did last week. I'm handing the ball off to Scalaboo, right? And if you're not going to bring a safety down or really respect the run, then I'm going to keep handing it off the same way the Giants did last week too.
I am skeptical that the Giants want to run the ball as often as they did last week. I think that a lot of that had to do with Malik Neighbors going down and having to adjust on the fly with a quarterback that's also being thrust into the game on a shorter timetable than they had hoped to get. Um, but I'm gonna agree. I mean, if they're gonna sit with too high, then why not? And you can even do other things with Cam Scatterbo that are extension of the run game, and same thing with Wan'Dale Robinson. The screen game should be another thing where they can really get something out of it. Um, but I also think that if they're gonna not do that, then they are gonna have a tough time running the ball. Like you said, this is not a good run blocking offense. It hasn't been all year. The the zone running scheme is not really great this year. I think that Scadaboo's vision is still developing. He's still got some work to do there. So if they're going to play into the box, then these wide receivers need to step up and they need to step back and pass. And I think that's what Brian Dable wants to do anyway.
One last thing before we move on to the Giants defense and the Saints offense. What are you doing at wide receiver 3?
I think that you are I think it's tough to say because we don't really see Bo Collins much, and we've seen only a little bit of Bo Collins. I wonder if Lil Jordan Humphrey gets an elevation this week, and if so, I wouldn't be surprised to see. I mean, there's going to be a rotation between Hyatt, Collins, and possibly Humphreys. Um, I just don't think that Dable thinks very much of Jalen Hyatt.
No, but if you don't play him now, you might as well take him off the team, and we don't need to have a bigger conversation about I guess
Right.
that's a great mailbag question. If he doesn't play more than 20 snaps and gets, 1 catch for 8 yards or another 0-0 for his career, somebody ask in the mailbag, uh, are the Giants wasting a roster spot with Jalen Hyatt? The answer will be yes, but we'll go into more detail of why that it's a waste besides just a guy not playing. But I kinda do think Bo Collins gets the nod, like, one, if you're not gonna be getting a ton of receiving value of your third receiver, we need him to block. Jalen Hyatt Jalen Hyatt created, the Giants, I think, probably their only, like, tackle for a loss or negative run against the Chargers was because Jalen Hyatt totally missed the block. Bo Collins probably won't do that. Bo Collins, you can trust to be in the right place at the right time, like, you know, it and I just don't see the Giants being the team with Jackson Dart right now that it's just like hang in the pocket, hang in the pocket, hang in the pocket for the post. Nothing from week 1 showed a willingness to do that. Maybe that is something that they always kind of when they ever want to get high and involved, they kind of give a couple pre-planned like, hey, throw the ball to him. But I'm talking about like actual reading a defense and throwing that post. And I just don't know if that's the right fit. Maybe you get one, but it's just not something that's to be a big part. So I personally hope it's Bo Collins. And like I said, maybe little Jordan Humphrey gets a little bit of action in a revenge game.
Yeah, it right now, it doesn't feel like Jalen Hyatt is actually a part of the offense every time he's on the field. It almost feels like he's either not part of the play at all or the entire it's like almost like a gimmick. Like, it's designed specifically to go to him, and they have, like, a whole setup involved to get him the ball or give him a shot. It doesn't really feel like he's part of the offense.
Right. All right. Let's talk about the Giants defense and the Saints offense. And the Saints offense has not been good. And I think one of the major reasons is lack of hydration. Oh, you know what? I messed that up.
Mm.
I think it's because not enough people are going to the Saints stadium. That's why I think. And you know why? Because they haven't been to SeatGeek, and they got to go to SeatGeek. And that's why I'm so excited to see the Giants in December versus Washington. I haven't decided if I'm going to any other games. Uh, I was hoping to go to a Rays playoff game. We'll see if that happens, right? Rays. But again, this is why I wanted to give today's episode a shout out on SeatGeek, today's sponsor. With over 28 million downloads, SeatGeek is the #1 rated ticketing app. There are more than 70,000 events listed on SeatGeek, including concerts, sports, festivals, and more. The NFL season is here. MLB playoffs are here. NHL and NBA right around the corner. I usually try and get to like an Orlando Magic game around this time of year. SeatGeek, if you do want to hook me up with a suite at the Orlando Magic game, would not say no to that. So just, maybe that's how, we'll do this. It's like I talk about SeatGeek, you give me an Orlando Magic suite. Um, so I'm definitely gonna hit some Magic Nets games this year. SeatGeek has your back. Each ticket is rated on a scale of 1 to 10, so you know you're getting a good deal. So look for the green dots. Green means good, red means bad. It's just like traffic, guys. Plus, every ticket is backed by their buyer guarantee. And of course, I have a code for you guys. You can use code Bobby2025 for 10% off your next set of tickets at SeatGeek. That's 10% off any tickets with promo code Bobby2025. Make sure you click the link in the description to download the app and have the code automatically added to your account so you can use it later. Thank you, SeatGeek. You'd be glad you did. By the way, you don't have to use it right away either. You can just have it on. Yeah, that's what I did when I got the new Bobby2025 code. I was like, ooh, I'm putting that on there, and I used it for the Darlington race. Also, Grump, somebody like on social media said something mean to me, and I clicked on the profile, which I don't do a ton. And one of the first things was like tweeting at SeatGeek, and it was like asking for a promo code, and I almost was like, hey, dumbass or whatever, and I was like, you're dumb, but also use code Bobby2025 for 10% off your tickets.
That would have been very generous of you.
Yeah, I really screwed up. I'm sorry, SeatGeek. Forgive me. I need to get that. Next time I need to swallow my pride because SeatGeek is more important than pride. Uh, the Saints offense is 28th in points per game at 16.5, one spot lower than the Giants. I do want to start with their rushing offense though, because it does kind of set up some of the stuff in their passing offense. They are 11th in total rushing, led by Kamara, who's only averaging 3.9 yards a pop though. I will say this with Kellen Moore, and this is every aspect of their offense. They understand what their limitations are, and they don't just accept that that's going to stop them from trying to run a functioning offense. Like, they don't have a great, like, just run it up zone running offense, but they want to run zone. So, like, they're going to, one Kamara sets stuff up, but they throw a lot at you in the running game. Right, they're going to pull guys all the time. They're going to use all of them Kamara on speed sweeps. They're going to throw a ton of misdirection at you. And then they're going to get to their basic outside zone runs that Kamara has made so much, money off of in his career. And Kamara, even though the offensive line isn't great up front, like, he is great at reading defender leverage and setting that up, and that's been hell. Talk about the Giants' run game issue. We talk about the mailbag pods. The Giants need to figure out their run keys and just hit them. Like, they just constantly keep you thinking, which has been a huge issue for the Giants' run defense because they're terrible at it. I'm actually just getting mad thinking about all the mental mistakes that this Giants' run defense makes for the linebackers and the DBs and how much emphasis is on them, and just wishing that the free technique of Roy Robinson Harris or Darius Alexander doesn't lose every freaking run play. I'm like working myself into an anger thinking of this run defense. This is what I'll say. The Giants and Shane Bowen did this against the Saints last year. The Saints game last year, very different situation. They had like Kevin Winston and Cedric Wilson were their starting receivers. They got Chris Olave and Rashid Shaheed, so they're not totally banged up. But that was the game Dexter Lawrence was his first game out after the injury last year. And all week, including ourselves, is like Saints are just going to run all over us. And the Saints thought the same thing. Said, we're going to run all over this crappy Giants. This crappy Giants run defense, now it's missing Dexter Lawrence. It's going to be extra crappy. And Shane Bowen said no, right? It was one of the few times where he had a great individual game plan. We're going to run blitz at you. We're going to run stunts up front. We're going to have Elijah Garcia and Elijah Chapman and all these Corey Durden. We're going to have them attacking as a run defense and not just, reading gaps and expecting our DBs to make the plays. They were blitzing Trey Hawkins from corner to go and stop the run. Stop the run. Why? Like, we'll talk about the passing offense. Do not play afraid of this passing offense, right? It's different when you're playing Jaden Daniels, Dak Prescott, Patrick Mahomes, and Justin Herbert. This run defense stinks. If there's one week to really just go all in on stopping the run, why not this week? Why not against a passing offense that you should not be afraid of, even though it's not totally inept? Why not try and stop the damn run?
Oh man, I'm nervous about this because the linebackers are not filling gaps properly. They're making mental mistakes. DBs are making bad angles or taking bad angles, and they're just bad at tackling on top of it. I mean, Paulson Adebo pretty much just got a piggyback ride last week. I can't watch Alvin Kamara just set linebackers up to collide into each other, filling the wrong gaps, and then just bursting through a hole and watching Tyler Nubin trip over his own shoelaces trying to chase him. I can't watch us lose the game that way. But at the same time, and I agree with you, like attack the run because Kellen Moore is a smart guy. He's not going to put the ball in harm's way. But at the same time, they can't just like I know you shouldn't play afraid of Spencer Rattler. Spencer Rattler is a subpar quarterback, but he is not afraid to throw the ball. You know what I mean? He's throwing the ball on the move. He's trying to lace things in into tight spaces. It's not always looking pretty, but he's not afraid of making mistakes, and he is. I was pretty surprised watching the Niners game how many times he was ripping it over the middle, and sometimes they're incompletions just because like Chris Olave just wasn't looking and just got drilled in the hip with a football. This is not a completely inept passing offense either. And you have guys like Brandon Cooks that I could see just double moving the shit out of Deonte Banks and becoming a problem. Chris Olave is pretty darn good too. Rashid Shaheed is something to be afraid of as well. This is a pretty balanced Saints offense. They battled pretty hard against Buffalo last week. They battled against the Niners. You know what I mean? This is not going to be just a cakewalk. So I think that there is some level of, at least on the fan side, of thinking that this is a terrible offense because they just see Spencer Rattler and they're like, well, they're just terrible. And the fact that, they lost to Seattle like 44-12 or whatever it was.
They're a bad, like, they're not a good offense. I mean, like I said, they're totally, they're ranked 28th in points per game passing wise. I mean, they're 27th in passing yards per game. But like, this is like I said to you pre-show, like, I think the best way to talk about their passing offense and their offense overall is organized. Again, there's nothing crazy. There's a basicness to their passing game with a quarterback who understands it and runs it the way it's expected to be run. They understand what their weaknesses are. They're not pushing the limits. Like, they have a bad offensive line, but I say only, in air quotes, only 9 sacks. They've only thrown 1 interception if you get rid of the stupid trick play they ran in the red zone. And besides, so there goes that. And I forgot to talk about my red zone talking point on the Giants offense. The Giants have the number 32 red zone offense. The Saints have the number 30 red zone defense. we got
Something's
another
gotta give.
yeah, we got another stoppable force versus movable object matchup. Who will win? Um, what was the last time we saw that matchup? We did that somewhat
Dallas?
this year. I can't remember what it
I
was.
thought it was against Dallas.
I can't remember, but we used that line at some point this year. Hell, it might even been freaking week one. Um, But, like they're 32nd in yards per completion, right? They're like anytime there's a high low, Spencer Rattler's usually taking a low on it. He has 190 yards per game, 5 touchdowns, 1 interception. He's completing 67% of his passes. Like he's playing within what he is. He's making smart reads. Like this is what Rattler does. He likes to throw outside the numbers and trust his guys to win against man or outside corners. He's decisive with the football. He's not going to hold on to the ball forever. Like I said, the offensive line is not very good. Rattler senses pressure well. So he either use his legs when needed or just get the ball out. South Carolina did a good job of prepping him for that. Um, he's not pushing the envelope as a passer. He's 4 of 16 on deep passes. But at the same time, you know, I think the corner receiver one-on-one matchups are going to mean a lot in this game. You got to stop playing Deontay Banks. I think if you play Deontay Banks, like you're really screwing around with a winnable game if you play him because I think both their receivers on the outside, um, and Shaheed and Olave don't play solely outside, but like I think they can both set him up. If you get Olave on Deontay Banks, dude, like that's just gonna be easy money, right? Like I'm Spencer Rattler. If I see that matchup, I am I'm basically telling Chris Olave, run whatever you want. I'm gonna get the ball, just put your hand up out of the break and I'll fire it in wherever you're going. Give me 3 options because his subtle movements are the things that kills a player like Deontay Banks who overreacts to those subtle movements. So, and then Paulson Adebo, like it's a revenge game for him. And Rattler's going to give him opportunities to make plays in man coverage. And that means, that he's going to give the receivers opportunities. So you gotta make the most of that. Like they're not doing what they did in past years. They're not forcing the ball to Kamara to give him, 70 catches in a year. They're also like they're getting under center and they're running play action, right? That's also building off of their run game as well, too. They're getting under center play action, 2-man routes. Whenever the Giants defense faces that, they play essentially man coverage. So you're gonna be faced to win that matchup. So um this is a bad offense. I am not sugarcoating that at all. But like you said, Grump, this is not something where the pass rush can just, oh, well, they win because they know the issues they have with their offensive line. Like the Chargers last week, no excuses for winning. It was honestly a stupid game plan from Greg Roman. Forget just not running the ball. It's like all these offensive linemen are injured. And you keep on using 5-man protections when they're giving you 5-man fronts, and they're clearly blitzing and sending stunts. Like, I was shocked by that. The Saints aren't gonna do that, you know? Like, they have an understanding of, like, "Wait, we're gonna need to protect up against these guys." The Giants' pass rush is good enough to get wins this week and dominate, especially with the injuries they have to Cesar Ruiz and some of the backup guards who may or may not be playing. Like, they do have the opportunity to dominate, but the Saints aren't just gonna make it easy for them either.
Yeah, run game and quick game. That's going to be their bread and butter because they know, like, I like Talese Fuaga, the right tackle, but he is not great as in pass protection. He's given up 3 sacks and 13 pressures already. Kelvin Banks is a decent left tackle as well. I don't not like Kelvin Banks, but he's already given up 16 pressures and a sack. Cesar Ruiz, like you said, he's out. We don't even know if Dylan Radin's their first backup guard is going to play because he's hurt too. So you might be looking at a rookie out of South Carolina, somebody named Simpkins that I don't know anything about. That's not great. Trevor Penning, also not great. So, I guess the one shining light is that Eric McCoy is a good center. But like you said, like Spencer Rattler is moving well in the pocket. He is avoiding pressures and he is being pretty safe with the football and he's decisive. He's been quick. He's not hesitating. And if he sees something over the middle, he's hitting it. He likes to hit some things outside the numbers. But I think it's going to be, they have to play sound against the run and they have to jam up these receivers and get rid of the quick game. They have to disrupt the timing. And more than anything, I mean, I guess not more than anything, but I guess the finishing touch is when the pass rush does get home, they need to bring Spencer Rattler down because it's another guy who does have some speed and athleticism to him. And if the entire pocket collapses and they don't bring him down and we're playing man coverage, he has the ability to run and make up for that sort of thing.
Or your outside corners need to freaking win against their receivers too.
Well, yeah.
Because like the Cowboys game and Dak played unconscious in that game, but the pass rush was getting after Dak that entire game, and he was just giving guys chances to make plays, and they were making those plays against the Giants corners. Yeah, obviously they target the slot a lot more with CeeDee Lamb in that game, but it wasn't just CeeDee Lamb getting them. Turpin was getting them. George Pickens obviously was getting, making his money on there. I'm not saying they have the wide receiver do of that, but Chris Olave can play damn good football. He's healthy right now, and Rashid Shaheed's nothing to be blinked at either. So, before we move on to segments with Danny, I do want to talk about Spencer Rattler's comments. And I think people took this as Spencer Rattler trying to like insult or take a shot at the Giants defense. In reality, he was just kind of giving a little bit of a scouting report. And he probably didn't think that Research Rick, who was a hero, was going to be watching Spencer Rattler's press conference and clipping that up and posting it. But what he had said is like, yeah, they really are stout up front, right? They got pass rushers, they're strong, they like to throw some twists at you. He said on the back end, they don't really disguise anything like the other teams that we've faced. They've got their own wrinkles, but they don't really disguise anything. Rattler was just giving an honest scouting report of the Giants defense, not trying to throw a shot. But in the NFL, where you're looking for any type of bulletin board material, that obviously gets back to Shane Bowen and the Giants defense. And yeah, it gets on to them. It gets to them on a Wednesday night after they've already installed the entire game plan. But the Giants don't disguise anything on the back end. It's been one of my biggest critiques of Shane Bowen through a season and 4 games. It's when they got Javon Holland, I said, there's no excuses to not be doing a ton more on the back end, and they didn't do it. That being said, if you don't think on 3rd and long, Shane Bowen is going to be throwing the biggest, disguises and rotations and inverted coverages, I'll be shocked if he doesn't throw a little more at Spencer Rattler on 3rd and long this week.
Yeah, I'm not only will I be shocked, I'll be disappointed if he doesn't. I mean, this is another quarterback that's young. You know what I mean? Like this is a chance for you to disguise and trick and force throws that they don't want to make. And like we spent all this time talking about how careful they are with the football and understanding their limitations. Confuse him. Get him off his game, get him off of his back foot. You have a pass rush that can help you too. So any extra hesitation that he has to make in his decision making, where it's like, oh, I didn't expect that coverage, and then now you have Dexter Lawrence or Abdul Carter or somebody in your face. That is a card up your sleeve that we're just not playing. Now, of course, they've gone up against different quarterbacks so far this year with guys like Jaden Daniels, who can do lots of things with his legs. Dak Prescott, who's been a veteran and a top 15 quarterback for a while now. Patrick Mahomes, I don't need to say anything about. Justin Herbert's been great this year. So this is an anomaly. This is the first time that we're going up against a quarterback where it's just like, I don't know. So, I mean, this is your chance to really open up the playbook and Coach Klein something here.
Yeah. Coach Klein is becoming like a huge reference.
I'm going to make it like a weekly thing, the weekly Klein.
So, all right, do you got anything else before we bring on Danny King?
No, I'm ready for Danny Boy.
Are you sure? Actually, yeah, I am sure. I'm really effing up today. All right, let's take a break. All right, we now welcome back Danny King for weather and trivia. Danny King, what's the weather looking like in New Orleans this week at the Superdome?
I did forget it's a dome this week. Did forget about that, but that doesn't matter. I don't know if anyone's actually going to New Orleans, but it's supposed to be hot still, 80 degrees. I'm not sure if it gets muggy down in New Orleans, but
how are you not sure? We need to have an intervention with you.
What do you?
You're getting the weather 2 weeks in a row of terrible weather reports.
What do you mean 2 weeks in a row?
You got it wrong last week. There was not a cloud in sight last week.
Oh yeah, that was a cloud. We'll live, but I don't know how muggy it is. I can tell you it's going to be cloudy.
You should know if it gets
You
humid.
have humidity. Yeah, you don't have humidity in your models.
I don't.
What's going on?
I don't care about humidity in New Orleans. That's not my, especially on a.
It is your job. It's the weather. You're supposed to talk about humidity and stuff like
It's
that.
in a. I can tell you, a dome is not going to be humidity.
But for the people that are going to the game, do they need to wear an undershirt when they're walking around New Orleans?
I'll pull up my humidity models now because we have a problem. 79%. I don't know what 79. It's supposed to be a little humid.
That's very humid. 79%. That's extremely humid.
I moved to a place with no humidity. I forgot what it's like now. All right, and
You're a weatherman. You can't forget how weather. So this is. I'm gonna tweet at this person. And next week's preview pod is gonna be live on Wednesday due to us playing on Thursday Night Football. I'm gonna try and get Jim Cantori of the Weather Channel on this podcast to give you a little bit of like a weather lesson. Like I'm gonna let him hear. I want him to hear your weather report and just pick it to
Bro,
shit.
if Jim Cantor's on this podcast, one, I'll shit myself. Two, I gotta predict this multiple days out.
Yes,
Things change. It changes.
okay, but that's the point of a weatherman. Like I know what the weather's like today. I'm here.
Oh, I can tell you what it's like today too.
Like this is like with the hurricane. Like imagine if we just hurricanes. It's like well, it's here in 3 days. I don't know where the hell it's gonna hit.
I mean, they got the government on their side. I got whatever I'm able to work with that I spend a lot. Well, guess what? I use what I have available to me, and it's not the government.
You trust the government?
This goes by like the Mean Girls nipple thing, right?
Yeah, like that. Yeah, that's not like, oh, it's gonna be cold.
All right, so I'm gonna tweet it publicly at Jim Cantori this week, and I need the listeners to get us on there. Like we need to have a we need to have a weatherman intervention with Danny King.
Right, and it's also like, can we just talk about how crazy it is? Everything I am saying, it is the complete opposite. Like that is just, it's getting to a point where it's a little ridiculous now.
That's the whole point of this conversation right now. It is getting ridiculous.
You know what? You know what? Next Giants home game, I'm gonna say it's gonna be nothing but sun, and I'm gonna hope for rain.
That's why we're bringing Jim. Jim Cantor's got to get on this show. So we need fan support on that. All right. Pete, when we tweet Janie, people are starting to get mad at the weather reports.
I'm gonna say it is getting ridiculous how bad. Sorry to interrupt. It's getting ridiculous how many messages I'll be like, "Hey, by the way, you're wrong again." I'm like, okay.
Yeah, you need to take more pride in the weather. What do we got for trivia this week?
Do you guys? I kind of, it's been, I guess just because we've been so bad, I've kind of forgotten how often we've played the Saints recently. Like I feel like they should just be added to the NFC East. So I just decided to go to a fun game. 52-49 when it was back in 2015, legendary game. I thought it would be fun if you can name every Giant that scored a touchdown that game, because there's multiple. Obviously, if I'm asking this question, there's probably a fun player in there that scored a touchdown. I'm not gonna be the most obvious, but we're gonna make it work. All right. So, can you name every Giant that scored a touchdown according to the ESPN box score? I have 1, 2, 3, 4. I got 4 on here with a touchdown. That's what the ESPN box score is telling me. And it is offense, and there is a defensive player. So that's why it's not that easy.
And it's 2015, right?
2015.
I remember where I was and everything for this game.
I can't think of his name.
I have 3 fully in my head. I'm trying to think of what the 4th might have been.
I imagine you're thinking defensive if you have the free already.
Are we doing this like a free for all, Bobby, or are we each gonna have to load up 4 answers before we go?
I would like us to load up the answers so we're not cheating. So I have 3 in my head. I'm trying to think of the 4th.
It's a fun one. All
right. I'm going to give you my 3. Grump, how many do you have in your head?
Who?
So
I'm trying.
Two of them I say are pretty. Two of them I would say are the ones that I would have guessed. The 2 of them I would have been like, really?
I think I know the third one. The defensive one is throwing me. I don't remember that at all. I remember that game being a barn burner.
Yeah, it was,
So one of them is defensive?
one of them is according to the ESPN box score, one of them is defensive. It was should I give a hint for that one?
Yeah, give a
Oh,
hint for the
okay.
defensive one.
It was a pick six.
That doesn't help me at fucking all.
All right, so I'm gonna go.
All right, God.
Odell and Dwayne Harris are the for sure ones.
Yep.
Odell was a 3-touchdown game. I'll say Shane Vereen was the other offensive one, and then Dominique Rodgers-Cromartie as the pick six.
I am gonna say Trevin Wade for the pick six. I feel like that's right. I feel like he was on the 2015 team. I can't remember. Definitely Dwayne Harris. The name I was getting stuck on was Dwayne Haskins, which I knew was wrong. But I remember the Dwayne Harris one specifically. I think his hair was being pulled too. OBJ is the other one. The other offensive one, Shane Vereen is a damn good guess. But I don't want to just Sterling Shepard on the 15 team. He was
No, he wasn't.
after-
He was drafted in 16.
Shit. Was Ruben Randall still on the team in 15?
Yeah, he was.
Yeah, I'll go with that. I don't think it's right, but
Obviously, Odell, yes, obviously, because that's all he did in 2015. Dwayne Harris is correct. He had two, the hair pull one. The Shane Vereen one was a good guess because it was correct. It was Shane Vereen, so that's the free offensive touchdowns. Trevin Wade was the New York Giant in 2015. He was not the interception. Dominique Rodgers-Cromartie did have an interception, but he was not the pick six. It was Tremaine McBride.
that's who it was. Damn it.
Tremaine McBride had it looks like a 63-yard pick six for the Giants in that game that they all still ended up losing. Shane Vereen had 9 targets that game. That is pretty ridiculous.
I remember loving the Shane Vereen signing, being like, Tom Brady's, receiving back. Eli's gonna love this. I kind of did.
We should. Anytime we get a Patriot from that Bill Belichick era, Shane Vereen was good. Nate Solder was an abomination to society.
Yeah. All right, let's do our fantasy draft. Let's get Thursday Night Football off the board first. We got 49ers at Rams -8.5. I'm going 49ers plus 8.5. They're halfway good. They always play Rams tough, even with they've always played the Rams tough. So I'm going 49ers plus 8.5. Listeners are going Rams. Danny, who do you got?
8.5 is too much, so I'll be going Niners.
Grump?
I'm inclined to agree with you, but I think the injury report is ridiculous tonight. So I'm just and Thursdays are always weird. I'm actually gonna go Rams. I'm gonna buck the trend. I had a bad week last week, so I gotta do something to make up ground.
Okay. All right, let's do our fantasy draft where we draft players from the Giants and the team's opponent. Losing Malik Neighbors is going to hurt us this year. I was trying to go to break the record again. That's simply just going to make it very tough where you're not knowing who's going to be getting the most yards in the receiving room most weeks. Grump won the week last week. He got saved by Malik Neighbors getting injured. He's picking first. He had 39 points last week. He's 28 points off the lead. I'll be picking second, still with the lead at 36 points last week. And then Danny has been last with a 29-point outing last week. He's 42 points back. Grump, you have 1-1. Who's getting the 1-1 now that it's not an easy Malik Neighbors on a lot of weeks?
Yeah, this sucks. I'll be taking Alvin Kamara, and I will not be taking any questions at this time.
He's the easy one. He's the one that that's going to be involved. He doesn't need a good passing game. Like he's going to be involved. So it's safe, but also it makes sense. So I went between a running back and a receiver on this one. I'm just going to take this guy. I loved him. He was my wide receiver one coming out of this class. Chris Olave. He's healthy. I'm a big Olave fan. Giants outside corners have been suspect. I'm gonna take Olave with pick number 2. Danny, you have back-to-back picks here.
I will be going our lovely insane running back Cam Scatterbo.
Oh, you guys are going according to the big board this week after last week going way off the beaten path.
And then from there, Wandale really didn't do much fantasy point wise last week. This will be my first like full time watch of Jackson Dart. I didn't watch. I wasn't able to watch much of that game, so I truly don't know.
Well, how was it over in Ireland, by the way?
It was good. It was my day was great. It started out here with that doubling game, fantastic. On the bus ride home, I got a text that Neighbors was down on the ground. That crushed me. And then I watched the Mets officially collapse. So it was the best Sunday to probably one of my not so fun Sundays. But that's besides the point. From
Yeah,
there,
that was a terrible.
It's a good day to
sucked.
drink.
I did. I drank a disturbing amount of Guinness that day, and it was not disturbing. You can never have. All right, sorry. Do I just go with the? Yes, I'm gonna take a swing in here on a Saints wide receiver. I'm going to Rashid Shaheed.
Oh wow!
I'm gonna take a big breakout. Giants secondary not the best as we know, and maybe that's a mistake with Spencer Rattler calling out Shane Bowen for not having disguises. Say shit defense.
Number 7 on the big board goes number 4. All right, so I'm gonna get who's number 4 on my big board. Obviously, I'm gonna go Wan'Dale Robinson. Like we know that Brandon Dable likes to get Wan'Dale Robinson involved no matter what. And now we're missing Malik Neighbors. They play a little soft zone that could lead to some Wan'Dale stuff. I'm going Wan'Dale Robinson with my second pick, and I might talk about that a little bit more at more length in a couple minutes. Grump, you have back-to-back picks, so one more pick before we get into the trade spots.
Yeah, I'm going Juwan Johnson for Spencer Rattler, and
I guess the Saints' leading receiver, Juwan Johnson, right now.
yeah, he was high up on my big board, kind of for that reason, because I don't really know what to make of this offense right now outside of Alvin Kamara. And then I'm just gonna have to go Darius Slayton because we're starting to look thin at talent.
Yeah, I mean, Slayton's wide receiver 1 for the Giants. Like, I understand why Wan'Dale probably get more targets and stuff. Like, he's their first outside receiver. Like, that's got to mean something. And you saw him get a little more involved once Malik Neighbors went down last week. And now they're gonna be game planning for Slayton, which it felt like with Neighbors and Wan'Dale, they were just never game planning for Slayton. Okay, so I'm gonna take a swing here because I don't really love anybody else on the board. Return to practice this week. Maybe I'm trading this away on Sunday morning. I'm going Taysom Hill. He always gets a lot of I feel like he gets a touchdown every time he plays the New York Giants. In fact, I might look that up while Danny's making his 2 picks, but I'm going to go Taysom Hill. Maybe again, if I'm trading him away, I'm not bummed by any of the guys I missed out on. Daniel?
Yeah,
You have back-to-back picks.
Lucky me. Theo Johnson, 10 points last week, had a touchdown. Maybe he'll have another touchdown. That'd be nice. What now from here? Oh, good Lord above. This is horrible. Man.
Try not to pick anyone that we've already picked.
Yeah, no.
I lied about Taysom Hill always getting he didn't play last year. In 2023, he didn't do anything. It was that 21 game where they were using him way too much. Remember he threw the pick?
Mm.
Yeah. He did have 2 rushing touchdowns in that game.
I mean, I'm just in the territory where I need just week after week luck to get back in this thing. And he had 12 points last week. Is it possible for back-to-back big games? It's possible. I'm gonna go Kendre Miller.
Kendre Miller. Giants top 30 visit.
Heyo.
I hate all of these. I'm gonna go Brandon Cooks. Starting receiver for the Saints back home. I just like him much more than all the other. The only other one I really considered was Devin Singletary. So Grump, you had the final pick.
Yeah, I'm debating right now. Do I go with the guy I think is the most likely to get points, like Devin Singletary, or do I go with the guy who could have like the one or two big plays that could be maybe it's Bo Collins, maybe it's Gunnar Olszewski. I don't know.
Gunnar
I'm going
Olszewski. If
for
you take Gunnar Olszewski, I might throw something at you through the screen.
But I mean,
Daniel Bellinger is still on the board too. That's not a
Yeah.
terrible pick either. But I'm just gonna go with Devin Singletary. I got to make up some ground. I'm doing good catching up to you after a rough start.
Here's the thing: is if you're trying to catch up ground, I would take the swing on like the guy that could be a starting receiver. But that's
Yeah,
just me.
I know, but I mean, I don't know.
Jalen Hyatt. He's always good for a 0 catches, 0 yards game. All right, so myself in first place. Chris Olave, Wandale Robinson, Taysom Hill, and Brandon Cooks. Grump, 28 points back. Alvin Kamara, Jawan Johnson, Darius Slayton, Devin Singletary. Grump's lineup just feels like, you know how we were saying the Giants and Saints have played a lot over the last 5 years? That just feels like it. Alvin Kamara, Jawan Johnson, Darius Slayton. That's a Giants Saints game right there. And then Danny in last place. Cam Scatteraboo, Rashid Shaheed, Theo Johnson, Kendra Miller. All right, Grump, it's time for Giant Factors. You're first up. What is the giantest of Giant Factors for week 5?
The giantest of giant factors are hydrated players. And how do you and I and Danny get hydrated? Danny drinks Guinness. We drink Body Armor. This episode is brought to you by Body Armor. Sports drink, rewrite your routine and choose better with Body Armor. Body Armor is real hydration with electrolytes, coconut water, no artificial dyes, flavors, or sweeteners. Great tasting flavors like strawberry banana and orange mango. Body Armor will level up your hydration game. Grab Body Armor sports drink today at your local grocery store. Body Armor, you'll be glad you did. Oh, Body Armor, choose better. You'll be glad you did. I'm sorry.
I was actually had my mouth was full of body armor, so I couldn't say it. Very glad you did. Be glad you did. All right, but who is your giant factor for week 5, Grump?
My giant factor is somebody on my fantasy team. It's Darius Slayton. I feel like maybe that's an easy one to do, but I think it's necessary because it's outside of this game. He's got to make a statement right away. We talked about the New Orleans Saints back end not being that impressive. We're not worried about it. They don't do a whole lot of stuff up front to generate pressure. They don't blitz a lot. Jackson Dart needs to find somebody quickly that he can rely on to throw the ball to in pressure situations when he's got to act quickly and decisively. They need somebody that has been around. They know the savvy little things to get into soft spots and zones and run the entire route tree. And Darius Slayton has to be that guy. He's the veteran here. He just signed a deal to stay here. This is where you show your worth. And every time Darius Slayton has been buried on the depth chart or not targeted for some reason, then all of a sudden he shows up and he's that guy. This is the time we need him to be that guy. Jackson Dart needs him to be that guy. The Giants need him to be that guy. And the Giants need to win this game. I don't think that being able to stop Alvin Kamara is going to be a rock solid thing that this defense can do. I'm not totally sold on, Spencer Rattler is absolutely terrible. We don't have to worry about the pass. This is a good passing attack for the Saints. If the Giants want to win this game, they need to score points, and they can't rely on getting 2 interceptions returned to the 3-yard line. They need to score points on offense. They need to be able to throw the ball, and Jackson Dart needs to find a reliable guy to throw to. Darius Slayton, step up and be a giant factor.
That's a good pick, Grump, because I was considering him, but I decided to go in another place because my giant factor is Wandale Robinson. Wandale Robinson had his career game against the Dallas Cowboys in week 2. He's getting targeted down the field, and it's like, see, this is what it is. The last 2 games, 4 catches for 40 yards. Malik Neighbors is gone. You have to be a big part of the offense. If you are going to get a contract, now is the time to prove your worth, not just by targets and total receptions, but by making an impact, right? And that doesn't mean just seams up the field against the Dallas Cowboys. Make an impact. If they're giving space, not only grab the catch, turn that into yak opportunities. When Jackson Dart scrambles and uses his legs, become somebody who opens up down the field for him and create that into yak. Don't just be a guy who catches passes. Be a guy who becomes a playmaker. Use those legs. Use that ability to make a guy miss or show some wiggle. Wan'Dale Robinson, it is year 4. You do not have a contract next year. Your wide receiver number 1 is out, and you have a young rookie quarterback. Be the reliable player in the slot. Be the playmaker player from the slot. Be a giant factor in Week 5 in New Orleans at the Superdome. Danny King, who is your Week 5 giant factor?
I guess it's just the Malik Neighbors effect of or your star player going down that we're all going to choose an offensive player.
I thought you were not say Bo Collins.
No, I for a part of me for half a second considered doing the Jalen Hyatt spiel, but I'm not in the mood to do the spiel. Only so
Can't do it anymore.
I just don't care. I just don't care. But I will be going with a man that had a nice celebration with I saw last week. I'm going Theo Johnson. Jackson Dart's gonna have to try and figure out who he can rely on right now. Who's his guy? He can rely on Wan'Dale. He can rely on Darius Slayton. But maybe Theo Johnson's that guy. Everyone just wants that, like a little buddy cop tight end. Maybe that's what Theo Johnson and Jackson Dart could be. But also last week, Theo Johnson, free catch, 17 yards on 5 targets. It was the most targets he's had since week 2 against Dallas. And that was 4 catches, 34 yards. I feel like Jackson Dart will still be relying heavily on his tight ends. The short game might still be his friend, short to medium game. And he's going to look for someone that he can rely on right now. He's going to need that comfort factors that Malik Neighbors is not here. So his comfort factor will now either be Darius Slayton, Wan'Dale Robinson, or Theo Johnson. I would guess it's probably be Wan'Dale Robinson because that's everyone's comfort factor at that 5'9" man. But Theo Johnson, sorry, what were you going to say, Mike?
I was saying that's actually amazing. That's our synergy where we're like, hey, Malik Neighbors is gone. The other receivers who are starting need to make plays.
Yeah,
we picked all 3 of them.
Yeah, so there we go. Theo Johnson, it's simple as that. Be a giant factor, catch the ball when targeted. Let's get another touchdown this week. I want to see more celebrations from you too.
I put out the who is your giant factor for tomorrow's game tweet on Saturday, and I'll be honest, I immediately mute it because I don't need like 200 replies of just names. But people are just like, yeah, Jackson Dart, the entire offensive line. I'm like, no, you got to pick one player, and it's supposed to be an X factor. I would be very funny if you guys could all just do wide receivers this week when you comment.
Next week we all have to go defense to balance the show out.
Or just as should be the new thing for any player that gets injured, we just add all the players that are like having to step up in his absence.
No, so it's got to pick Gunnar Olszewski.
One day. So can I ask him? This is because obviously last week I was busy. Did we just sign Younghoe Koo just for him to run on the practice squad? Is that what this is going to be? Is Jude McAtee the actual answer?
I actually missed having you here because I knew you would have picked Younghoe Koo as your giant factor.
Yeah, I would have.
I knew you would have.
100%. And then I would have been like, God damn it.
Let's get into spread picks. Danny's still in first place. He had his first bad week, even though it wasn't bad. He went 4-4. He's at 22-10. Grump struggled last week at 2-6. He's in second at 17-15. I went 5-3. I'm 15-17. I just need to get above 500 before I focus on winning the thing. Listeners went 1-7 last week, 11-21. That's hard to come back from. Like, it's hard to have an above 500 year. So we did Thursday Night Football already. We got Vikings at Browns in the UK. Vikings favored by 4.5. The listeners represented by Ryan Anderson, not the one who got suspended by the Giants for doing steroids and then released, has the Browns plus 4.5. The Browns stink on offense. They just are starting Dylan Gabriel, who is very short. Sorry about it, Julian. Left-handed and is facing a Brian Flores defense against a team that's been home. I'm going Vikings minus 4.5. Never forget, Grump, we interviewed Tez Johnson, who was the smallest player in the draft, and we asked him what stood out about Dylan Gabriel when he first joined the team. And he said he just went on for 2 minutes about how he's so short. Like, you don't believe how short this guy is. Vikings minus 4.5. Danny, who you got?
I laughed at that. He's taller than me, so that was pretty embarrassing.
Is he taller than you?
Yep, he's 5'11". I'm 5'10".
I don't believe he's 5'11". That's probably a lying height.
That's what I guess. Yeah, usually what you're probably like an inch higher, or in those official.
Using Kyler Murray's measuring tape, maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know how they do that, but like they actually have like lied about these quarterback size. He's not 5'11".
Here's the thing. I thought about going Browns, new quarterback, new vibes. I thought about doing a Myman joke because that's what Shador Sanders does, but I won't do that. Vikings weren't the best last week, but they hung around, and they still got a good defense at mine with Brian Flores. I think we'll have Dylan Gabriel in a blender, so I shall also go the Minnesota Vikings.
Word of advice to Shador fans, because I think if you're a Shador fan, you're not like, there's nothing like wrong with that. Like, hey, he was a good player in college. You like the accuracy. Like, I like Shador's confidence. You could admit that was like extremely weird and immature doing the mime thing. Like,
I mean,
and doing the whole like, oh, if he says you can't, if he says something, everyone gets mad at him. If he says nothing, no. Rex Ryan was an idiot. Went on this overly stupid rant over nothing. Nobody else had that energy. Nobody at the desk was in doing that. I was like, what the hell is Rex? Most normal people, I'm sure there's some like absolute like, jerks who at home were like, yeah, tell him Rex. Most normal people were like, what is Rex going on about? And they moved on. Then Shador plays into it by doing the mime thing. Just admit that was a bad move by Shador.
He chose the worst time to do it when they did this QB change. It just made him look salty about not being picked as the starter quarterback. It just bad timing all around.
Just admit that was an L for Shador. Like, again, you can fight the battle of public opinion with Shador. Just admit that one was an L. Grump, who do you got?
I don't like this Browns team at all. But on the flip side, this is a London game, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which makes it weird. Minnesota is super banged up. I'm going to try the Browns out. And it's not for any love for Dylan Gabriel or anything like that. I'm just saying the London games never make any sense, or they make total sense. This will be one of those things where either Cleveland wins or they get buried by like 30 points.
And that Browns defense we talk about like the Vikings defense going up. That Browns defense could torment Carson Wentz, where it's pick after pick and stuff.
Like, they were only allowed back in that game last week because of the Steelers. Like, there was no reason that game should have ended up being a 24-21.
Yeah. I was looking at EPA today because it's like, all right, we got a 4-week sample size.
Here we go.
You know who's dead last in quarterback EPA per play this year out of 38 quarterbacks?
Oh.
JJ McCarthy. Broncos at Eagles -3.5. Grump, who you got in this one?
I'm going Philly. I know whatever's going on there is going on there, but I think that they're just too talented to not get it right and figure it out.
I agree. I think Vic Fangio's a revenge game for him. I think he's going to have fun trying to scheme up against Bo Nix. I'm going Eagles. The listeners are going Broncos. Danny, who do you got?
Part of me kind of wants to go Broncos, but I wish if it was 4, I might end up going. I would have went Broncos, but 3.5. I mean, basically 4, but I'm going to go Eagles. Like you said, the Vic Fangio effect is probably real this week, and maybe A.J. Brown will stop complaining soon.
Cowboys at Jets +2.5. This is the bye game start this week game of the week, so we have to put some type of stinker in here. Who do you got in this one, Danny?
Man, Jets are 0-4. Cowboys tied last week. Hilarious. Is Justin Fields back this week? Not Justin Fields, sorry. Who was out last week? I forgot where I was going with that. I apologize. I just had a massive brain fart. I'm gonna go the Cowboys.
Listeners agree. I agree. The Jets suck. Grump, who do you got?
Jets are bad, man. They just can't win even when they do things right.
Is Aaron Glenn one and done?
Here's the thing is you act like an asshole to everybody. It gets old so quick when you're like this. And he has to act like an asshole to everybody.
I just don't know how much people really expected this offense with Justin Fields. Like, this is the worst Justin
Their
Fields.
defense is bad too, though.
Yeah, I don't know. They're hanging around. I don't know.
I feel like they probably won't because he's a Jet player, a former Jet player. So I feel like they want to give him the benefit of the doubt. But if someone fun comes around, I can see that.
As a Jets fan, you got to defend the wall for at least a couple months. But the writing was on the wall in training camp. It's like anytime somebody comes in like this, it just never ends well. Like I said, I was like, what does this guy do besides say this shit sucks and then nothing changes and then says it sucks again and we're going to take care of it? Bucks at Seahawks -3.5. Two really fun teams. Probably don't have a full great grasp of them. Actually, I guess we probably do with the Bucks. Who you got in this one, Grump?
I'm going Seattle. Home field advantage. I think this one goes in the record books for uniform matchups, by the way.
Oh, yes, I forgot.
We have the throwback Seahawks ones from the 90s, and we have the creamsicle Bucks uniforms. So
Ooh.
this is a Hall of Fame uniform game. But I'm going Seahawks in this one.
Danny?
Man, this really is. I completely forgot about the uniform matchup this week. I'm gonna rock with the Bucks. I think I just think they're still a little bit ahead of the Seahawks.
Listeners agree. I agree too. I'm just kind of in on the Bucks, and I want to see the Seahawks prove a little bit more, even though they've been good. Commanders at Chargers -2.5. Jaden Daniels is probably back in this one. Chargers are banged up. I'm going to go Commanders +2.5. I think they're better suited to deal with their limitations. Their limitations, they knew they were what they were getting going into the season. And Jaden Daniels' legs, if he's healthy enough to run, will be a huge factor. I'm going Commanders +2.5. Listeners agree. Grump, do you agree?
I do. I think that Harbaugh is going to come correct this week and not do the same dumb shit he did on offense against us, but I don't think it's enough.
Daniel.
I saw Rick Pitino sitting just in the crowd at the Yankee game, just
As Marlon Man's there again, I'm kind of invested in this Yankees team. Yep, Marlon Man is there.
I met him back in the Mets 22. But
Grump met him too. Took a picture with him.
Oh, sick.
I'm the only one who hasn't met him. I'm kind of sad.
Yeah, I met him on the 7 line. This is a spite pick. This is complete spite pick. Jaden Daniels said something about the Mets. So I already hated him for being a Commander. I hate him a little extra this week. Give me the Chargers and a bounce back week. Madison Beer will be there. Justin Herbert will have the game of his life.
Mets suck, Danny. Mets suck.
I can't say anything because they collapsed.
Sunday Night Football. The Patriots back where their home
Road
for so long. Back on Sunday Night Football. Patriots at Bills -8.5.
Gross game.
Drake May's been kind of playing really well this year, and this is with a terrible receiving room around him. I think he might just be the truth. I'm excited to see him on Sunday Night Football. I'm going Patriots +8.5. And you know what? If I was picking a big upset of the week, I think this is it. I think the Patriots are going into this game knowing this is prime time. Vrabel plays into that stuff. This is the Drake May mixes national, his big national appearance game. I'm going Drake May and the Patriots. Listeners agree. Danny.
First, just the first real, not first real. This is the Bills, kind of their first test of the season out because the Ravens, we've seen what they've been. Jets, Dolphins, Saints, all three are bad teams. I feel like the Patriots are going to want to ruin the vibes as the Bills play their final season at Highmark Stadium, and I think they'll play into that. I think I said too many points for the 49ers, Rams. I'm not saying that about the Patriots. I think the Patriots can win this week.
Grump.
I'm confused. Danny, what did you just pick?
The Patriots.
The Patriots.
Okay.
Patriots.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with the Patriots too. Buffalo is dicking around a little too much. They're having too much fun. They let the Saints
Way too much fun.
So yeah, I'm gonna say it's too many points.
All right, and then Chiefs at Jags +3.5. This is Monday Night Football rematch of a playoff game a few years ago. Listeners got Chiefs -3.5. Danny, who you got?
I get it's a playoff rematch, but why is this on Monday Night Football? I guess it's Patrick Mahomes. That's the only thing that makes sense.
This is a bad Monday Night Football match.
This is
even though the Jags defense has been good, but let's see it. I guess Travis Hunter. They want to get Travis Hunter on primetime.
Oh, there it is. There it is. Can we get Steve Spagnuolo and Liam Cohen for a little fisticuffs? Can we get part 2 of that? Maybe Andy Reid throws it with him. I don't know. Give me the Chiefs though. They're still they're not good, but they're better than the Jags.
I just love a Monday Night Football game in Jacksonville. Grump, who do you got?
Not Duval, I can tell you that. Chiefs. Jacksonville stinks.
Hold on, as I Google Jags Monday Night Football history. I guess, they played last year on the Bills. They got smoked 47-10 on Monday Night Football.
Oh my God.
And then they played that game against the Bengals where Jake Browning won the game. And then before that game, they weren't on Monday Night Football since 2011. I remember there being a thing where the Jags were never on Monday Night Football.
It's so weird. It's like every game that you mentioned are just them and another small market team. Like Buffalo, Cincinnati, even Kansas City. I know Kansas City is Kansas City now, but like it's not a major market. It's not like they're playing Dallas. Like I don't know. It's crazy to me.
San Diego in 2011. So their last win was against the Ravens, 12-7. I'm pretty sure this was a David Garrard team, right?
That is
Oh my God.
No, it was Blaine Gabbert. Blaine Gabbert had 93 passing yards in this game. Maurice Jones-Drew. Yeah, I should have known. David Garrard was plenty gone by 2011. I'm tripping. There was a Monday Night Football Jags game that was like very memorable that they won.
Giants Monday Night Football.
You don't remember it?
Oh, you know what it was? It was us. They beat us. And
Great.
Oh, great.
yeah, that was the David Garrard game.
What year was that? Oh, yeah, that was, I don't know.
Eli had 2 interceptions.
Sounds on Hein.
Sounds even.
No, it was 2006.
Okay.
Our Monday Night Football game's late this year. December 1st.
Oh, and then remember they had the one, I think it was like the rainy game where they won 9-0 over. All right, all right, that's your Jaguars Monday Night Football history lesson.
I know.
I'm
So you're saying that this game's going to suck? Is that what you're telling us?
I'm going Chiefs -3.5. All right, Giants Saints score predictions. Danny, what do you got?
Yeah, well, I mean, they should win this week. If they're able to beat the Chargers, they should beat the Saints. And then when they beat the Saints, I'll unhealthily buy back in for when they probably get smoked by the Eagles next week. But the Giants will win this week because that's all that matters, and it's one game at a time. Giants win. I'll give them 24 this week, and I'll give the Saints 16.
Grump, what is your score prediction for New York Giants at New Orleans Saints?
I think that they are fully ready to figure out how to throw the ball this week. So, you don't have Malik Neighbors. You're going to have to figure out something else. We had a whole Giants factor section devoted entirely to that. I think the Giants come out here and they score some points early. And I think they win this game 27-20.
Last week was a lot of fun, undoubtedly. Jackson Dart did some good things in his first game. It was fun breaking down his film. It's game 2 against the Saints. I want to see some big boy passes from the pocket. I want to see some throws down the field. I want to see some big boy football from Jackson Dart. I want to see this Giants defense say, you know what? We're not letting teams just run the ball all over us. We're going to stop the damn run in this game. So, with that, the Giants go back to New Orleans, and they win, and they dominate, and they win 77-0. I'm excited for. We will see you guys Sunday after the game with another victory podcast. We will see you then. Until then, let's go Big Blue.